Holy. This way a bit. Now, are we good? We are. Hey everyone, how are yous doing? Are yous well? That'd annoy me down there now, that line over here where it wasn't straight, that'd just get to me. Anyway, how are yous this evening? This evening we're going to make a delicious, really simple, as all my recipes are of course, a really simple minced beef and onion pie. I'm going to use ready rolled puff pastry. You can use short crust pastry, you can make your own pastry, no problems, it's really simple. What I'll do is I'll do another separate video showing you how to make pastry. The majority of people will rather use this, which is my reason for using it today. It'll be a lot handier for the majority of you. Anyway, so let's get cracking onto this. So we're going to start off anyway, a little drop of oil in our pan. I'm using again my sawtooth. You use a non-stick. About a tablespoon. You want to use lean mince for this. You don't want to use fat mince. So I've got lean. This is done as 5% mince. The reason for that is you don't want your dish to be fatty. If you put too much too fatty a mince into your dish, you're just going to end up with a bucket load of fat sitting at the top of your sauce that's going into your pie, and obviously none of us want that. So let's chop our onion. I think in my next video what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these things chopped like I used to do at the start. It speeds the videos up considerably, and I think everyone's seen how to chop an onion, plus it's on my YouTube channel if you want to see how to do it. Now if you want to make short crust pastry, it's really simple. You basically, it's half the amount of butter to half the amount of flour. So if you put 300 grams of flour, you need 150. Say 150 grams of butter. Pinch of salt. You can put an egg into it if you want. I like to because it's a pie. And mix all that together, and then with a little tiny drop of water, bit by bit, and form it in a bowl until it becomes a dough. You don't want it crazy sticky. So you've added enough water, and again just add it little by little. Don't handle it too much. One of the secrets to making good pastry is that everything is nice and cool. Now we'll turn that pan down a bit. That everything is nice and cool when you're making it. When you have it rolled into a dough, wrap it in cling film, bung it into the fridge for an hour to 45 minutes, get it nice and cool, take it out, divide it into one half is your bottom of your pie and one half is the top of your pie. It's really simple. Now that is a little hot at the moment, so let's just move away from the heat for a second. And in the meantime, let's peel a carrot. Now, the one thing I didn't get myself ready is, of course, is a peeler. And it's the one thing I can't find. It's a good peeler. I'll use this old one for now. You calm down there. Martha Richards, I think, make that thing, is it? No, Tifa. I wish they didn't have that beep in it. I know it's for safety, but there should be a way of switching it off. Now, so when you're peeling your carrot, this is called a speed peeler. A speed peeler is the one that moves like that. And just go up along the carrot, like so, until it's peeled. It's really simple. You can put whatever veggies you want into this, but you want something good and robust like a carrot that's going to hold together. Peas are great in it too. I'll be sticking peas into this, but they come in a little later. The carrot I want to put in with the onion because I want it to cook with the onion. Now, so you cut it in half like so, and then all you do is you just cut down. Take your time, because this can wobble all over the place and cut you. Now remove that piece, stick those pieces down, cut down. Now, still a bit wobbly, so we'll remove another piece to make it safe. Down. And always just make sure that it's stable and you're safe. And then put it together and just cut it into small little, tiny little bits. Like so. Any bigger, and you're going to have to put them into a pot and pre-cook them, as in parboil them for a good 5 minutes or more if you're going to cut them bigger than that, and then drain them off. And the reason for that is they're just not going to cook by the time everything else is cooked. So that's why it's so important that you do that, or else cut them small like me. And one more time, just put down one slice. Do one slice at a time if you're not familiar or not too good with knives, and you don't feel too that you're too safe in doing more. So just do whatever amount that you're happy and you have complete control of, so that you're not going to cut yourself. So I'll quickly do this again. I'll cut across. I'll flick that over now, and again that means I've got it stable. There it goes. As you see, even a chef, just for the stability of it, I don't stack too many together, because again, you have to have it stable when you're cutting it. It's so important, or you're going to cut yourself. Now, so there we go. A little bit of garlic, but that goes in a little while. So we'll put our pan back on now. That'll have enough heat in it kept from a moment ago. And we'll start off with our minced beef. In it goes. Remove that paper. Now, you hear the sizzle? That's important. If you're not getting the sizzle, you're boiling it, and it's going to be horrible. Sizzle is flavour. It's very important. If you overload the pan with small pan with a lot of mince, it's not going to sizzle. The sizzle will die out really, really quickly, and what will happen is it'll boil, and you'll just have boiled mince, which nobody likes. So, you want the sizzle. Now, I'll leave that there for a few moments, because I'm using a sauteuse, as I've explained a few times before. It doesn't have a non-stick coating, and when the meat is ready to be turned, it'll turn. Now, in the meantime, we have our herbs, and we have some lovely fresh thyme to go into it there as well. Now, if I put my vegetables in there as well, same thing, I'm overloading the pan, and I'm going to lose that. You can see it's just evaporating the water out of it, and that's the water that's inside in the meat. You want that to go, and that will kick back again there now in a minute. It'll start sizzling again when that water goes. That varies mince by mince. Depends on what level of water is in the mince as to whether you're going to get that. But if you do, turn it up as high as you go, and just don't touch it. You want that water to completely disappear, evaporate out of it, and you're back to frying again. So in the meantime, our puff pastry, I'm just using this one, not brand specific. It's literally just the one that my housemate picked up when she was doing the shopping. I think she did the shopping on Dunn's this week. She tends to vary it. Now, comes on this paper, which is great because you can work on it on this paper. There's your pastry basically rolled, which is great. See that now? And that water's starting to evaporate, so it's pulling all that moisture out of that mince. That's not a good mince. I'm really not happy with that at all now, to be honest with you. Who makes that? Now let me have a little look at that, which one that is. I'm not impressed with that one bit. That should not be doing that. You've seen there the pan, it's a hot pan, it's induction, so there's a good lot of heat in that, and like you've seen me cooking this a lot of times, but look at the water that's coming out of that. Like, that's terrible. That is muck. That's complete muck, to be honest with you now. I'm really disappointed. That's Dunn's lean Irish mince, typically 5% fat, but look, I'm basically, oh yeah, I'm very annoyed. So I really don't recommend if you buy that mince at all, anybody. Dunn Stores, if anybody's watching this from Dunn Stores, shame on you. That's not good quality mince that you're giving us at all. It doesn't even smell like good steak mince or good quality mince. I'm getting a really fatty smell off of it. I'm not impressed at all. Anyway, we'll plough on. We'll do it for the sake of the video. We'll do it. But I'll be honest with you, this is going to go to waste because I'm not going to eat that pie. That mince doesn't smell like minced beef should. It doesn't have that beefy smell that you like and expect. So here we go. This is a little bit bigger, but don't worry because we're going to patch that, which is a good thing. I can show you the patch. Now let me grab just a corner of a butter packet, a little dash of butter on it, and I'm just going to rub it into the sides of that. And now, this over, grab our pastry, flick it over. You can use short crust pastry for this. I had planned on making pastry for this, but I said for the sake of the video, a lot of people won't want me sitting here making pastry. So now I'm just stretching that out. I'm pushing it in, lifting it and pushing it in, and then stretching it out. Now you see we're coming back to frying again. You can just hear that. That's what I was saying earlier. Basically that moisture is evaporated out of it, and we're back to frying. That's mad. Even now it doesn't have a nice smell. You know what I'm talking about. Now see the way that's bunched up there at the sides? You don't want that, alright? And again, for the sake of the video, I do have a bit of waste here, but we're doing a video here now rather than... There. And I will roll that now. See that? I can use that again. That's not going to waste. Put it back in this paper, into a ball. Make sure that it's airtight. Wrap that in cling film then, and that'll do for 2 or 3 days in your fridge. Yeah. We'll put our vegetables in. I had the Lidl and Aldi beef there during the week. The minced beef from them. So much better. So much better than this. There's no comparison between the two, to be honest with you. Really disappointed with that. So we'll just fry that off for a little bit. Move our pile out of the way and grab our garlic. Push down and peel away. Remember to keep the blade of the knife facing away from the heel of your hand. So the blade of your knife slanted down like so, not at all up obviously, because you're going to take the hand off yourself. And then we just and as you see, it's not fine. And all that flavour isn't sitting on my board. If you chop that loads and loads and loads, your board's going to be soaking wet, and it's all the flavour that you're missing out on. And that smells great. Now I'm going to add a little drop of water into that. Yes, after getting rid of the other water. Just a tiny drop, and that's going to deglaze the bottom of my pan, get that flavour off. As I start to get my sauce together. Now, sauce, simple, very, very simple. So just move that out of the way for a moment. This is fresh thyme. If you're going to use dried thyme, a really good one to remember actually if you're using dried as opposed to fresh herbs. Dried herbs are roughly equivalent to 4 times stronger than fresh. So use 4 times less. I'm just going to chop that up there, and you can do this with the leaves in this. Sometimes you can't because they're, the stalks, because they're very coarse. This one, up at the top, I can do that with the stalks because they're quite soft, you see. So they're not going to be that little hard branch sitting inside of the dish. So this is beautiful thyme. That smells absolutely amazing. It smells a lot better than dried thyme as well. So much vibrant, fresher flavour of it. Now, the other thing we want in that is some bay leaves. I like to stick 2 into it, 1, 2. And then we need some tomatoes. Now you can use, where are we? You can use fresh if you want. I can't, I'm allergic. So I'll be using tin. You don't even have to use tomatoes if you don't want to. I might not do. I'm not seeing a tin here. The one thing that we usually have in the house. There we go, found it. Now, so I'm only going to use a little. Say 1/3 of the tin. And these are my cherry tomatoes. I buy these, they're nicer, way nicer than the Italian cherries. The Tesco's do them as well. They're way nicer than the actual chopped tomatoes, and there's not that much difference in price. So just a little, because I don't want it to be an overpowering tomato dish. Squash those tomatoes down in there. Oh, splashed them all in the kitchen. Now, so at this stage then we're going to add in our stock pot. Video is almost finished. We are nearly there, believe it or not. Not long to go now. See that now, that flavour that's in there now. And that's when I allowed the pan the mince to brown on the pan, not blacken, brown on the pan and the stick. And when I put the water in, it removes all of that gorgeous flavour that's on the pan. Not so much with this actual mince, unfortunately, but however, usually. Now, I'm just going to put some water into that. And the beauty about this is the amount of water you put into it depends on you. If you're on a budget, you follow the recipe exactly the same as what I've just done. Don't buy cheap mince. Don't buy cheap fatty mince for this, because it's going to be terrible. It's not going to taste good. So get the better mince, but split it in two. So what we do here is you can go all the way along and follow it to this, and put that extra bit of water in, and then you can thicken it with either a roux or a little bit of pesto. I'm going to use a little bit of pesto today. Then you can divide that in two. Then you can add half of it for the pie, and then the other half will do for a chili, a bolognese, basically anything you want, mince related. Even a cottage pie for another day, or even make two pies and freeze one. So in terms of freezing, what would you do with this? You have a couple of choices with this. So you can bring it to this point here. Let's turn that back up and get that boiling up for me. So, freezing. You can bring it to this point that I've brought it to here now. Put in your pastry, put in your mince, but allow this to cool. If you're going to make this and you're going to freeze it, allow your mince meat mix to cool down fully. Don't put it in hot. The reason for that is it's going to sweat inside, and it's just going to make the pastry all soggy and horrible. So when this is set, you put it in, put your lid on it when it's cold, then freeze it, just as like that. In fact, you can even brush it with the egg before you freeze it if you so choose. Or brush it when you take it out. It's easier if you're going to bake it frozen. I suggest you brush it with egg at the start. If not, I suggest you, now that's boiling along. If not, I suggest you, if you're going to defrost it, I suggest you brush it after you defrost it. Now, so I have my oven preheating there to 180 degrees. And as I said, I'm just going to use a little bit of pesto. Most of the time, if I'm cooking myself, I'll make a roux. But for the sake of these videos, I use the pesto because most of the people watching them won't make a roux. Some people don't know what a roux is. Roux is really simple. It's a thickener. You may use it to thicken. Now turn that down a bit, because as you thicken the sauce, it starts to bubble. Those bubbles start to splash out more with a thicker sauce. So turn it down to a simmer and be careful with the splashes. So as I was saying, a roux basically is used for thickening sauces in professional kitchens all over the world. It's equal quantities of melted butter and flour mixed together to form a paste, and then you add little by little into a boiling sauce like milk to make a white sauce for lasagna, or cheese sauce for lasagna, or a white sauce for bacon and cabbage. You can do it for a mushroom sauce by adding mushrooms and so on. There's loads of different variants, but you can do it in soup and do it in loads of things. If you're gluten-free diet, and I'm just going to put a little bit more because I want this nice and thick for the pie. If you're on a gluten-free diet, you just simply use rice flour. And the only difference really I find with rice flour is you may have to blend the sauce with a blender, as it might go a little lumpy on you. But that's no problem. That's easily done. If it's in the case of something like this, add it into boiling water, blend it, and then put it into this as a kind of a watery mix. Yeah, so that's beautiful. That's ready to go. Let's move these bits out of the way. Now, ideally, to make a pie, your mix being that bit cool does make a big difference. It just makes it easier on making it. That's all. So in we go here with this. Take your time. You don't want to splash it all over the place. I fill it right up, and I'll leave my bay leaves in there for that lovely flavour. Now, if you're doing this at home, give it an extra 10 minutes, just there on a simmer on your stove. For the sake of the video, I'm obviously not going to make you sit here and watch that simmer for 10 minutes. So I would give it an extra 10 minutes or so, just to simmer. And then you probably won't have to add as much pesto as I added, because it'll naturally thicken. And what that is reducing a sauce, or reducing a liquid. And you're basically boiling it, and piles of it evaporates out. And whatever else is in the pot basically just thickens up. So leave that over to the corner there now, and here we go with our pastry. So you get your pastry, take it up, and that will fit that perfectly. I don't need the whole thing, so we'll cut across. Lovely. Now, grab an egg and grab a cup. Just one single egg, and this is really important. You can use milk if you don't have an egg. You don't have to use the egg. Some people are allergic, just use some milk. You can use soy milk too. If you want to use soy milk, that's fine too. And then just grab a brush or a pastry brush. I just have this thing, which is specifically for doing the likes of this. Move that in there now. And you just brush around, and what that's going to do then is allow this, just stuck there, it's going to allow this to stick far better. Now, and there's my pastry, and that with the other bit I can use to make lovely cream slices and all sorts of bits. You can also freeze it, but it's not great as puff pastry if you do freeze it. It's not great, it doesn't rise so well afterwards if you freeze it. Now, just clean the top on our pie like that. Grab my little knife again, and then very simply just cut around, nice and gently. Take your time, there's no hurry on you. And there you go. And again, that can go back in with the other pastry. It's good pastry, there's no need to waste it. And here's your pie. So what you want to do with this, get a knife that's not as sharp. I'm just going to use a regular normal butter knife, and then holding your thumb like this in here, you're pushing in, and what you're doing is you're tapping those edges together. Now I'm going to get a fork, and I'm going to go around it again with a fork, and I'll show you that in a moment. I'm trying to get all those bits in from the side. You see those little bits just there? Those bits can just burn and give a slightly unappetizing appearance to the side of your pie. And what happens is the egg will stick. The egg will stick the top of that to the bottom far, far better. But it's not enough. It's not enough. So grab a fork, and just the back of a fork, and then just push down. And if it comes up like that, just push it together. See, it happens to all of us. Only on a live video. I could do 100 of these pies and this wouldn't happen. If that happens, we can dip it in a bit of flour as well, and it'll stop it sticking as much. We'll push that in. A little bit of a repair. What happened there now is the pastry has become a little wet, so I'm just going to tuck it in. Give it a tap again, and push down again like so, and we're back on track. Now, really important, with your knife, put your fingers over a little, put your knife in, and just make a hole in the center, and then go all around and just make holes. Not huge, and the reason for that is you want the air to escape. But whatever pattern, you can use a fork and so on. And now, grab your egg again and your pastry brush, and this is one of the secrets now to get that amazing golden glaze. Don't be afraid to use plenty of egg. Yes, I know. This is what gives it the golden, that amazing golden glaze that you're so used to seeing and wondering, how did you get them to look so well? Well, this, a lot of the baking places might use a mix, an actual mix. So spread it around. You don't want puddles. Spread it around and get it as evenly as you can around. Just takes that extra minute than just giving it a quick brush. And I know it looks a lot. Once you don't have big puddles of it sitting around, just keep spreading it around and get it nice and evenly as best you can. And there you go. You're ready for your oven. Give it one last blast with your knife just to make sure those holes are good, Now, secret with this to keep that nice and clean is to put that onto a tray of some sort. If I put that into the oven just like that, it's going to overflow at the sides, and I'm going to have an absolutely filthy oven. So I already have a tray in there preheating. I'm just going to bring this over, stick it on the oven. Now that's going to take, at 180 degrees, that's going to take 30 to 35 minutes. And that's it. That's your pie. Now, freezing. If you want to take the pie and allow it to freeze the pie after you've cooked it, or if you want to batch cook it, it's great. But the thing again is to allow it to cool. Once you allow it to cool, what happens is the mince will set inside in it, and it's far easier for you if you want to cut it then. It doesn't fall to pieces. If you try and cut it, portion it and freeze it when it's still warm or hot, it's just going to flow all over the place, and it's going to be a nightmare for you. Again, let it cool fully. Once it's cooled, portion it, cut it into portions, and use a cake slice, traditional cakes, to cut it and lift it out. And then freeze those. Wrap each one in cling film and freeze it, and you can defrost them then directly like that, or you can take it out of the cling film, put it on a dish, put it in the oven, and you can heat it from frozen. So that's it. That's our video. Before I sign off, what I'm going to do is one thing. I'm going to show anyone who's interested how to get one of these boards good and proper again, and bring it back to the way it should be. There, it's quite simple to do. It's quite simple to do, and inexpensive as well. The stuff you need to do it, I have bucket loads on this. It's basically just like a beeswax. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere. It's just loads in on this itself, and it's covered in this wax. And all you do is get your board nice and clean, and then wipe the wax into your board. And you just see the line of wax, and there's wax coming onto it there. And what we're going to do is we keep treating that. So I'll do that another 3 times or 2 times after this. And what that will do is that wax then will soak down into the board. This is how easy it is. That will soak down into the board. And the next time I do a video, come back and watch, and you'll see just how amazingly new this board looks. All because of this here. This here. I gave the packet of wax that comes in a tub, and I gave it away to somebody because I had a couple of these boards, and I gave them one of them, and I gave them the wax, and I coated this with it. You can just see, I don't know if you can see it there, the line of wax that's still on it, and that's 6 months more, God, one more at this stage. God, it must be 9 months at this stage, and I'm still using it. You know, that's how far it goes. And it's a vegan beeswax as well that I use. You can use the regular beeswax. Again, you buy it on Amazon, it's like a tenner or something. It's not expensive. So then you do the sides and you do underneath and everything, and after that then you'll come back, and once that kind of dries into it, you just buff it up then with your cloth, and just use a terry cloth that came in the same kit. And if you do that with wooden surfaces or wooden boards, non-varnished stuff now, and you do that, if it's got a varnish coating on it, it's just not going to work. The whole idea is the wax is actually soaking into the board, and that will protect the board itself. So when you put water or whatever, let me show you actually really quickly. When you put water and stuff onto it, then it doesn't absorb into your board. You see, let me grab a cloth. As you see, my board is far more protected. Not as much now if I give it the full treatment and the full 3 layers and so on like that. It's just to give you a quick example. So that's basically it, how to treat a wooden board. You'll buy these actual yolks here for, I think that was €8, and the wax itself was something like 12 or something, and the cloth came with this. It's not expensive. You need to look for beeswax, and remember, you can't do it with glossed or varnished boards. Only counters or boards that haven't been glossed. The other thing as well, my knives, again, they have a natural rosewood handle, so exactly the same thing again. I'll just treat it down. I'm going to get plenty of wax into it. I have to be safe, so we'll hold the blade with the cloth. Plenty of wax into that. And exactly the same, leave it like that, and that will just protect that. it'll soak in and it'll just protect it. I'll do it again 2 to 3 times, and that'll keep my knives beautifully shiny and new for the sake of €20 little kit that you can get. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm not sure what video I'll do for you guys next. I'll be back during the week with one. I'll do something nice this time. I think I'll do something sweet, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, listen, thank you for watching. Any questions, I'm available for a full hour in the comments. Feel free to ask, and I shall talk to you soon. Bye bye.